Hi, everyone. It is so great to be back in front of you. And we are here for another sponsor spotlight. And I'm so excited as we are preparing for EP Mixer New Orleans, which is happening on Wednesday, October 1st. Now, it's Wednesday, October 1st in New Orleans at Dave & Buster's, right after GSX again in New Orleans, just so we know where it is and when it is. And I have with us one of our fantastic platinum sponsors, one of our first long distance international sponsors, especially at least from me, where he is, and that we have with us today from Arslan SRS, Mr. Amos Kung, and we're going to talk to him momentarily. But I got to tell you, there's often you look at where people are, but you don't know where they came from. So you see like this kind of finished product, which it's not. And I'll tell you, we're going to talk about that. But we had a really interesting conversation just before we jumped on recording. But let me get into this real quick. Amos began his national service for the Singapore Armed Forces in Infantry and later joined the Officer Cadet Program for the Singapore Police. That was back in 91, 92. He'd been at it for a while. Served as staff inspectorate before becoming OC at the Protective Command, responsible for key installations in Singapore. Then got into the civilian logistics and built a strong background in international freight forwarding, third-party logistics, supply chain, warehousing, customs clearance, and chartering aircraft and vessels. Founded SRS in 2006 as a side project, named at the time Security and Risk Solutions, and grew it from hotel and corporate risk assessments into a full-service integrated security firm employing over 1,000 staff in Singapore and 5,000 across APAC in Europe. Now, the core operations and global presence specializes in close protection and journey management, operating again APAC and EMEA regions with strong presence in Singapore, India, China, Southeast Asia, Hong Kong, Korea, UK, and the Netherlands. Folks, that's the shortened version of what this guy and his partner Paul have been doing. So without further ado, I bring you Mr. Amos Kung from SRS. Amos, I know it's getting close to the middle of the night. Thanks for being here
No
and
problem,
talking to
man.
us.
Good morning to you.
Right. Yeah, it is morning. It's morning. I've been up for a little bit. I had to get up,
Right.
charged up, and so I'm excited to be here. So thank you again for being a sponsor. Thank you for your support. We're glad you're here, and thanks for doing what you're doing. We've had like I said, we had an interesting conversation, and you're busy. You're busy, so good on you.
Yeah, thanks. And I mean, thanks for the invite as well.
Yeah. Oh, for sure, for sure.
Wow.
So I know you got things to do. So let's go ahead and let's get into it. And
Sure.
we're gonna talk about a number of things, and wherever these questions take us is where they take us. So when it comes to
Okay.
client relationships,
hmm
what qualities do you think make an exceptional executive protection provider beyond the technical skills?
For me, I think the number one skill that we require is the ability to listen. So
Okay.
yeah, we get all these different sort of requests, and it's cliche, right, to say that yeah, none of the requests are all the same. But because of that, right, I think you really got to listen to the finer points of what the client actually requires. You get simple requests, okay, I need a security driver, for example, or an EP operative for a certain city. And then they stop at that, right? Now, if it happens, then okay, then I'll just we have to listen to what they want to say. And if they do, stop, and then, we'll try to dig and ask more questions. But you do get some clients who are a little bit more over exuberant, right? And they'll try to give you a little more detail, sometimes too many, which is not relevant. Then you got the ability to sort of screen off the fat and kind of just focus in on the key technical aspects of the task at hand. So I think that ability to communicate with the client at that point of engagement is important, because then so much is gained at the first engagement point rather than going back and forth, over emails later and trying to clarify doubts, which is kind of a bit of a waste of time. And also not the also showcasing the ability that you did not actually really grasp the actual content that the client wanted to deliver. So that in that sense, I always train our guys, especially those who are on the front facing on the customer level front, to be able to have patience and kind of sieve through the different uh, customer types in that sense, or character types, right? So we get loads of different. As you get angry ones, you get people who are just trigger happy and just regurgitate everything out, right? And then it's, oh, okay, man, that's a waterfall of content. You might have to say that again, right? So that the ability to do that engagement, I think for me, it's key, right? Other than the technical skills, because I think we kind of reached a certain point that they know that we have the technical skills already, and they know that we're going to provide people with the right expertise, but the ability to sort of blend in to what they actually want, right? So I'll give you an example. We deal with like Far East China, Chinese clients, and then we have Saudi Arabian clients. Well, totally different, right? Both equally demanding, but different cultural aspects to it,
Sure.
right? I can't apply what I do with the Saudis to the Chinese, man. It's going to be a disaster, right? Or for an American client, for example, and then with the Chinese, vice versa, ain't
Right.
going to work,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that cultural nuances where you are able to pick it up, especially if you're dealing in APAC, right? It's not a homogeneous setup over
Sure.
here. Languages are different, cultural aspects are different. So the ability to understand and bridge between those differences will be key.
Well, and so you say at the very beginning, listening, right? And and then you say communication.
Yeah.
And so I think that's often overlooked. And I know I'm as guilty as anyone of it, of where communication is me speaking, me saying whatever it is
Yeah.
that I'm saying, as opposed to the communication point of listening. And maybe sometimes reading between the lines,
Mhm.
but also culturally, like you said, you could say maybe the exact same phrase, with maybe not totally different meaning, but certainly enough difference in a meaning to say, no, that's not what I meant. I meant this
Right.
because I'm a Saudi client as opposed to a
Mm.
Chinese client. And
Right.
so that's like listening in general, whether it's to the client, to your team, but certainly listening to your client, but
Right.
but just listening in general. That part of communication, I think we breeze
Mhm.
by, but I appreciate you saying that. Like
Mm.
that's a great point, that I think we miss sometimes. Um, so what? Okay, so what challenges do you most frequently see in the Asia Pacific security landscape, and how does SRS prepare to stay ahead of that? And I think
Okay.
maybe you answer that a little bit, ahead of time, just with your knowledge and your background, and that, on and on for the years that you've been doing it. But like, what is it that you do, that you deal with, and and how you deal with it?
Okay. So one of the pointers will come back again to culture, right? Like I said, different cultural nuances that we need to understand, especially if it's going to be a multi-country sort of assignment, which we usually get, right?
Mm-hmm.
High net worth individual and maybe with his family plans a big trip in Asia. And I don't know why. It usually starts in Japan. Okay, because for most Americans, they'll go down to Japan first. And then from there, they come down to Southeast Asia. Now, temperate climates, they're different from Southeast Asia. Um, language, food, everything is
Yeah, right.
different. Right? I mean, Japan itself is a challenge in terms of language. Right? There's only like a fixed, or um, I would say like population to EP ratio. It's really low for those who can speak English.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that can be plugged in. But then when it subsequent travels down to Southeast Asia and then multiple trips, across borders, that's where some of the technical challenges come in. Now, for those that have been doing this for some time, they usually will want an operative who can speak at least two languages, if not three, right? That will plug into the team,
Sure.
right? As sort of a team leader, right? And that operative will then travel together with the main family. And whereas for each destination, then we'll use local operatives, right? So you blend in with someone familiar, and again, coupled with a team that is experienced on their own natural habitat within their own space and country, right? So you have a blend of both. So I'm just on that on a technical aspect. Um, Other challenges within the security landscape, um, well, besides language and culture, I would say it's the low adoption of tech, right? Technology,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
I know it's great. I know. I mean, I don't know what news you get on China in America, but if you go to China, I mean, their tech is pretty awesome.
Uh-huh.
All right. They're even, I mean, their adoption of tech is even, I would say, way faster than what we have here in Singapore, right? And they're years ahead on that. Um, with that in Southeast Asia, I'm confident now that the adoption rate is nowhere near, right? It is catching up, but it's nowhere near where China is. So there is this huge delta in terms of the tech adoption, right? And where we want to place ourselves is to be providing solutions on this technology gap, right? Which we have been co-developing with our own teams over
Hmm.
here, and also some of our counterparts in Malaysia, and parts of Southeast Asia where we are bringing in a team, and we managed to get a government grant to develop this,
Hmm.
right? And it's going to be backed by blockchain. Now, I wanted to bring this up, which I think I will
Hmm.
show this a bit during the GSX as well,
Oh, okay.
right? On a more of like a command and control platform that we have been developing through a wholly owned company, a subsidiary company that we have set up just to develop that tech.
Hmm.
And that is not only for the EP space, it can be used for the EP space, but also in terms of uh, event security management, for example. So it is this built and designed for, I would say, a few thousand staff at one go, for example. So it's not just a small team. It can cater to a bigger mass geographically within, and it can track the movements, tells you what time, how long were they having their breaks, and all that. So the command and control function would be something great for us to enable our command center to add that layer of tech into the EP offering that we have for the clients.
Well, that's great. And my next question was literally pretty much what you just said.
Oh, okay.
So, which is great. So let's
Right.
go ahead. Let's go ahead and say that. Like, so the
Yeah.
question was or is, what innovations or technology are you
Yeah.
most excited about in executive protection? But
Right.
also, and you got into this. How do you see them shaping the future?
Right.
In your operations, which I think you kind of answered. So if you have more, by all means.
Right. So besides the command and control hall function
Mhm.
of the software and platform that we are building, there's also, I mean, going to be an app-based
Mhm.
sort of functionality. There's too many apps now, but this is going to be solely for this space, and that is more for the EP space, right? So the app is more for the EP. Command and control can encompass both EP and for the event security management, or even your normal security deployments,
Mhm.
right? So this app that we have been developing for quite a while, actually, but we had to drop a couple of ex-partners because they were not in the game technologically. So we found this when we found this blockchain or powered by blockchain solution, we decided to adopt it, right? And yeah, I think we are on the final stages of rolling it out. Um, Hopefully, like I said again before GSX, but if
Mhm.
not, then I hope it's by the time the IPSB in Charlotte.
Sure. Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
might be able to kind of, do a small intro of the capabilities that teams might be able to adopt and enhance their service offering to their clients.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. Now I'm excited about it. I mean, you're excited about it. Now I'm excited about it. I like that here. And also too, I love to hear, I love hearing the journey of it all. Like, we're here. This is where we see it going and we're right there. So, and it's interesting, like how long that something like that takes to develop, um, uh, to really build it out. Like it's a lot of
Right.
work. Like, and it takes a lot of time, and you have other things, like you said off camera, like, you have other things that are pulling your attention because day-to-day operations need to go. But also too,
Yeah,
that has to be feeding into what are you putting into the app? What are you putting into how that
correct.
all behaves and things like that. And and then you beta it, and then you roll it out. And so if you're not
Right.
doing that already, so okay. Um, we've talked, technologically how we do the business or how you do the business, and that's great. But I want to ask, what kind of advice would you give to security professionals looking to build strong networks and succeed in security and executive protection, close protection, whatever you want to call it,
Mm.
to succeed even at a level like you have over, what is it, 6,000 employees? It's more. Um, maybe there's companies that aren't that, right? But the people, even the ones that are, what would
Right.
you say to them? Like how did they get to where you're going or to where you are or anywhere in between? What do
Right.
you offer?
Well, I would have different pieces of advice depending on your past working experience.
Hmm.
Now, if it's completely new in security, meaning that you have never served and all that, and then I would definitely encourage them to at least take up the basic courses, which are mandatory in each country,
Hmm.
right? So again, it differs from in Singapore or Malaysia, Thailand for that matter, right? So these countries do not have a robust structure to train security professionals on the onset,
Hmm.
right? So the problem, one of the challenges, maybe I should have said it earlier as well, is that the perception of security in, like, say, Southeast Asia is next to a cleaner, right? Even in Singapore,
Hmm.
right? But the government has been trying to encourage and change that uh, that sort of thinking among the masses,
Right. Yeah.
right?
Okay.
And they've been encouraging that. They've been increasing the minimum wage for security officers. So as an internship, I would put them through the paces of letting them know and feel what a security officer would feel like,
Hmm.
and what's the daily job routine and all that, so that you can understand how to manage them if you are going on the management path,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Um, Same with the EP, right? So for the EP, if you had zero skills in EP, then it is mandatory to get on the right courses, right? Now, if a particular country doesn't have that sort of courses, I mean, they come to us, we'll recommend them, okay, you go to this provider, and at least they'll set you up with the right skill sets to begin with.
Hmm.
And then you start from the bottom,
Hmm.
right? Granted, that's not many, right, in Southeast Asia. And I would say many, I meant qualified ones.
Hmm. Sure.
There's going to be a lot of cowboy operators. I can tell you that. I
You sure you're not talking about
no,
the United States?
no.
I'm telling you,
I've
you
seen worse.
are.
Yeah, man. I've seen worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, fair enough. Fair enough.
I,
Yeah.
even our own mandated EP module is a 3 day theory course. It's not even a practical course. So how do you call yourself an EP after 3 days? No, and I in no conscious of mind, am I going to deploy someone who just went on a 3-day theory course to
Hmm.
become an EP of,
Hmm.
right? So when I said different advice, yeah, it depends on whether he's going to be the newbie or if he has already done the paces within the service doing EP. Now that's okay. If you're trained by the state, we know that you have the skill sets,
Sure.
right? So and at our level, we company level, we have hired a dedicated like sort of EP trainer, right? And he does all the courses and all that,
Hmm.
refresher courses for these operatives, right? And we put them in the paces every 6 months, come back to make sure that you stay sharp, put them out to Thailand and do the advanced driving course again, right? To make sure that their skill sets are still there, right? But if someone new, let's say, comes from the force, then again I look at it um, I look at their CV, at their bio, and
Hmm.
I check out their last rank. And the first thing I will say to them, like, dude, leave your rank at home because that's not going to work out
Right.
here when you
Hmm.
start pulling shit, right?
Hmm.
And it always happens, right? And we have to go down and say, look, man, this is the private sector, all
Yeah.
right? And we know that you were probably a high level officer back then, but now you're dealing with commercial clients, right? You've just got to change that mindset and the way you engage, right? And that surprisingly has been one of the more frequent pieces of advice we tell people, and and I have to sort of massage it sometimes, right? Because I hate to say it, but sometimes massaging different egos,
Sure.
it's quite a skill set, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Management it's huge. And so if I'm hearing you, it's, let's get, like get the basics, right? Because
basics.
all the fancy stuff, all the other high speed stuff, like not that it doesn't matter. It matters depending on where you are, right? I have to imagine or who your client is and things like that. But having the basics, but then I know you said rank, but leaving your ego at home, checking your ego at it, to have some success, to be humble. I have a very dear friend of mine, who's was my first protection mentor, and that was one of the things that he just started with. Now, I talk about coming in with zero skills. Like I
Right.
I didn't know anything, right? And this is 20 however many years ago, and it was always like, it was just like, be humble, right? Just be humble. And listen, my dad's advice was keep your mouth shut, your ears and your eyes open, right? Especially when you're going in brand new. And
Yeah.
I tried to do that as best I could. To the point that then it becomes like, then you have trainers, but then you also said not only getting the basics, but it's staying current. You have somebody that does
Yeah.
refreshers and staying
Correct.
staying ahead. It's like you don't take one class and then that's it. You don't take one course and that's it. It's
Yeah.
ongoing. I have a friend of mine that I was
It's
talking to
ongoing.
yesterday who he's going to be kind of coming off a contract here in about 3 months,
Hmm.
and he goes, then my plan is to network and to train, and
Yeah.
train not only like in the gym and fighting and
Hmm.
stuff like that, but to get some other certificates and just to keep
Yeah.
himself sharp and going. So that's yeah. So I think that's
One of the skill sets I think I'm trying to encourage them, even for myself, right,
mhm,
to take it up is sharpen our skills more on the cyber side, right? So in a way, that it's a totally different skill set of what you're doing for the EP, but knowing what with the tech that comes along with it,
mhm,
I think it's a plus,
yeah,
right? If you're more adept with technology, right?
yeah,
So we've been telling especially some of the older folks, like your tech adoption, you gotta kind of speed it up a bit. No pressure, but it's just trying to make it, get them to a realization point that it's not going to roll back. This is something that is going to come and it's going to be a norm,
yeah,
right? And if you don't do something about it now, yeah, it might be a challenge, 6 months down the road or whatever time frame that might be. So that's some piece of advice that we give our current operators. And we can only tell them what to do, right? Some of them just, I just did see, I just want to do this. No, I don't
mhm,
want to, I just want to be with one client and that's it. And it's cool. I mean, it's up to them, right?
mhm,
But I respect their choices, right?
mhm,
But then again, right? I said, opportunities come and go, situations change,
Hmm.
and that could happen to your current client on your current contract. So
Hmm. Yeah.
it's best to be, prepared, right?
Hmm.
But at an organization level or or an individual.
Sure. Oh yeah. Well,
Mm.
and definitely, and that's the thing. Sometimes the individuals will, what brings the company forward, and usually
Mm.
that's going to probably start somewhere in the top, right? Or somebody
Yeah.
from, somebody in the ranks saying, "Hey, listen, I've seen this. It looks like it's something good," and you give it, and then it passes its way up. But we could go
Yeah.
on and on about that. And I know we're just about at time here. So I want to kind of close out with this. What is SRS looking forward to in 2026 and or the rest of the year to
Right.
2026 and beyond?
Well, I think we probably had this year mapped out. We're heavily into the sports scene for now.
Sure.
But as I mentioned before the interview, we were kind of heavily involved in the World Aquatics Championships that Singapore is hosting for the world right now.
Hmm.
That is, and with terms of manpower as well as tech and in NEP. So that's kind of kept keeping us busy till probably the end of next month, right? And then September comes, that's going to be GSX season and my traveling season in America.
Hmm.
um, and that's probably about it. Yeah, okay. We have what do we have this year? Okay, the Formula One again comes, and this season I think is going to be a little bit more interesting for us because um, that tech which I told you about earlier,
Hmm.
they probably be the first one to adopt it for the race. Right. And if
Awesome.
that happens,
Hmm.
and I think that would be a great pilot project because, Formula One and just encompasses so many moving parts.
Hmm.
And this system was designed for that, right?
Yeah.
To be, the lack of latency, for example. And then you can see every of your security professionals moving and you know exactly where their position is instead of going blind or just listening, dude, hey, where are you? Reporting your location. At this time, it's you see it everywhere.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
that's something that we are excited to bring out for this race this year. Of course, talks are still going on, still premature, but it's just a couple of months away or 3 months away.
Hmm.
And yeah, I'm really excited for that.
Yeah.
Right. And then we have major events coming in November again. So this year's kind of probably mapped out. Next year, I mean, again, right, it's definitely going to be tech at the forefront, right?
Well, sometimes that's what happens. We lost a little bit of connectivity there and had an interruption. Amos and I just decided to kind of conclude it right there. As you saw, it was a fantastic conversation. We are so grateful to have Arslan SRS as sponsors. Amos is always so gracious on these interviews, so we are grateful to have him here today. So, with that being said, again, reminder: EP Mixer, New Orleans, coming up October 1st from 7 to 10 p.m. More details to follow, or just keep watching this video and you'll see it right there. Take a screenshot of it, save it, get it plugged in to your calendar. We hope to see you there. Hope you have a great one. That's all I got. Talk to you real soon.